Oh yeah. So there we go. Just doing a little quad stretch. A little quad stretcherooski. Got the back foot elevated. So if you're trying to specifically target your quad more than your hip flexor in a kneeling stretch like this, then elevating the back foot, because it puts a more of a bend on your knee, is going to bias the quad, because quad muscles are going to cross your knee. A lot of the hip flex, most of the hip flexor muscles don't. Anyways, my quads have been particularly tight lately, specifically the left one. So we'll move on to that in a second here. But this is going to be day one of the road to 18-inch arms and a 10-inch cock. It's not even funny. Oh, yeah. So we're actually going to be hitting legs today. I'm just doing my stretching and warm up. It's important for me to loosen up my hip flexors and my quads before I train legs, really before I do any workout, arm workout or leg workout. Those are the only workouts that I do. Chronically tight quads, and so I've found static stretching to be really effective to do before the workout, just to release some tension. Generally speaking, static stretching is probably not the ideal thing to do before you work out, to prepare to work out. It's not like a warm-up, so I think that's why a lot of people are opposed to it. But if you know you're dealing with a certain muscle imbalance, I find a combination of static, meaning we're just holding it here like this, and dynamic stretching, if we start to add some movement into it, to be effective before going and working out, to try and release tension in the problem areas. So if you know you have an issue in your right pec and something, you had a shoulder injury and it tends to get tight, going and doing some static stretching, maybe some massage for that muscle to open up and temporarily release some of the tension so that you can go and access a fuller range of motion when you actually go and do your movements, when you go and train. I think that's really useful in that aspect. But just for general people, if you're you're not having any specific issues that you're trying to address, doing a bunch of static stretching before you go and work out probably doesn't make a ton of sense. As with most things, there's a lot of gray area and nuance. It's not just as simple as static stretching is good, static stretching is bad. Do it before your workout, do it after your workout. Depends on your situation, depends on some of the other variables. Yeah, this left quad is really tight. You can feel it. Tends to be the right hip flexor, the right psoas muscle, which is a crazy little muscle that originates from your lower back, and then it kind of comes down through your hip, through the front of your hip here, and attaches on the inside kind of front of your femur, your quad bone, primarily responsible for flexing your femur or your leg upward, hip flexor. But because of its anatomy originating from the lower back, it can be really difficult to stretch. It's also important in stabilizing the pelvis, and I think is involved with some posterior tilting when it contracts, but don't quote me on that. You might have to give the anatomy a goog if you're one of these anatomy nerds out there. I might have made a mistake, I'm sorry. Anywho's, day one of the road to 18-inch arms. It's just going to be arm days and leg days. That's all I can train right now. If you're not familiar with my channel or any of I've primarily done short form content up to this point. We're going to start documenting the workouts that I'm doing and all the mobility stuff. Hopefully you'll find it beneficial, maybe learn a few things. Speaking of which, if you really want to hit the hip flexor or psoas more, I find raising your hands up like this overhead allows you to get into that a bit more. You don't want to arch through the lower back though. I know you can't see from this front angle, but you don't want to be like leaning into it and arching. Put your hand on your back, one on your front, and make sure that that lower back is in a neutral position. For a lot of people, once you just make this adjustment and you tilt your pelvis a little bit, you feel the stretch immediately. If you want to take the hip flexor stretch further, keep that neutral positioning, raise your hands up overhead, and then lean like this. Oh, sweet baby Jesus. And then we just count some breaths. Okay, let's go back into just kind of regular positioning here. So yeah, I can only do arms and legs. Story is, I broke my ankle, healed incorrectly when I was really young. Led to a lot of dysfunction in my legs, eventually hips, all the way up into my shoulders and neck. The body is a connected chain, so when one joint doesn't move correctly, it's eventually over time, it can start to affect all of the other joints. And I'm kind of a naturally quite tight, inflexible person. Throw that into the mix as well, and then I was resistance training really hard on this dysfunctional ankle, and I just kind of ingrained all of these imbalances. So you can imagine if your ankle doesn't move right, you're not going to walk the same, right? Maybe your walk's going to be a little bit off, a little bit asymmetric. And then from there, your hips are going to be out of alignment as a result if your steps are shifted a little bit differently, right? So anyways, I had to stop training for many years. I started getting numbness and tingling up into the left side of my face because this left shoulder blade is getting pulled out of position, started to press on some nerves. Go into more detail as we go here. I think each mobility session I'll kind of film a little bit of what I'm doing, whether it's a stretch, massage, or a mobility exercise, and I'll kind of slowly explain some of the issues that are going on. But just to give you guys a heads up, it's going to be arms and legs. That's what I'm doing. That's all I can do. For a couple of years, I completely stopped training for several years. And then eventually I started to find ways to work around the issues, manage it, and develop a mobility routine of a bunch of stretching and all this other shit that I do before I go train. It allows me to release the tension and manage the imbalance as best I can and get after it and make some gains. So that's what I love doing. So it's turned into this whole thing where the more I challenge myself and push myself to be consistent with it and try to keep making improvements, I'm realizing there are a lot of other people out there who deal with physical dysfunction that limits them from exercising. And yeah, I would like to be an inspiration to those people because I've been in that same place and I'm currently dealing with it. That's less than ideal. My workout routine is very modified, as you're going to see today. I'm just do one exercise for legs. It's the only movement I've found I can do, jumping lunges. There's some reasoning behind that. If you have a big hip imbalance, any kind of split stance movement is probably going to be easier. A movement like a squat, it's going to illuminate or show your hip issue is going to show up right away in the movement. And you're going to probably exacerbate the problem by squatting if you have a hip imbalance significant enough. So split stance movement, and then for some reason doing it jumping, I don't know if it's just shaking everything loose, but a lot of the tension and the imbalance in my hips, this left hip flexor being really tight, the left quad, doesn't seem to flare up too bad as long as I kind of warm up, loosen everything up ahead of time, and then stretch out afterwards. It's not too bad. I'm going to take you guys through this other mobility drill that I made up. I kind of just came up with it, but what I'm doing is I'm moving laterally and I'm rotating the knee down. Sometimes I come up here to get the hip flexor fully stretched, but because I'm doing jumping lunges only, it's all I can do right now. It's a front and back movement, sagittal plane, transverse, whatever the fucking plane is, I can't remember. But there's no lateral movement. So I like to include some kind of lateral movement here, just to get my body moving in some different planes of motion. I'm not trained, this isn't for muscle gain, it's just to mobilize my hips. I don't know, it just feels good. I just kind of came up with it myself. It's stretching out the adductors some. And then obviously you're getting some rotation in your hip here, bringing it as a internal rotation. I don't know, don't need to think about it too much, but it feels great on the hip flexors and some of the other muscles, the adductors. Whew. So I barely had much time to warm up today because I caught up with a dinner, some friends, it's good. And then I went to the gym, but turns out the gym closes at 8. So then I drove back here to my buddy's garage gym. I get this leg session in, and I think one of the takeaways from that is, man, there's always going to be an excuse. And it would have been very easy. It was a long day filming content, doing all this different stuff. Oh, left leg till the end of the day, got caught up having dinner, gym's closed. Would have been easy to make the excuse to just go home, call it a day, but no. We don't miss workouts. That's the number one thing you need to establish. Just always do the workout. Even if it's not the best session, you're gonna have some down days. Just always show up and do the best you can and develop that relentless consistency. That's really one of the simplest main things to improving your physique, getting stronger, whatever fitness goal you have. That's what gets most people, is they just can't stick with it. It's probably like 80% of it. The last 20 is finding the right things to do, adapting your training, progressing it as you go, bringing the intensity. All right, that's enough of that. Set 1, I've done three or four warm-up sets with progressively heavier weights, just like not to failures, like 5-6 reps per leg, just to get all the blood flowing, make sure my form feels good. It's gonna be my first working set with the 45-pound dumbbells. We're gonna go for 20 reps. Let's go. Keep that front foot, knee, and hip all in a straight line. Chest is out. Let's go to work. It's a good first set. I kind of lost count. It was either 20 or 21. If I lose count, it doesn't happen very often. I'll always assume 1 rep less to make sure I'm doing more than less. So, first working set, 45 pounds. Reps are pretty high, 20. I'm gonna rest 2 to 3 minutes, and I'll do the set with the left leg. And then I'll rest again. I'm gonna go up to my 55-pound dumbbells, which is my true working weight. But something I found to be very effective is to do the first working set with just a slightly lower weight and have the reps be up higher, 15 to 20. I just find if I go just straight into my working weight, my body's just like not ready for that weight. The joints feel a little weird, like, I don't know. It's just never worked as good. So it's just something I like to do. 45s for 20. I do the same thing with arms. That first set is like just a notch below my working weight. Reps are higher. And then I do all the rest of the working sets in the 10 to 15 rep range. To failure or close. So I record my set here with the left leg in another minute or so. And then I'm probably gonna just not record until I get to my last 2 working sets. So I'm gonna show you those so you can see what that looks like. All I'm doing here is 6 sets of jumping lunges. That's the workout. Like I mentioned, it's the only movement I can do and train with enough intensity to see growth. Experimented with so much different shit. Hill walking, hill running, spin bike, leg press, leg curl, like any kind of movement. Always ended up exacerbating the muscle imbalances in my hips. And I couldn't do it in a way that was like, I could approach it with enough intensity to build muscle and not make the imbalances worse and cause pain and tightness and everything. So split stance movements seem to be really good. I just kind of landed on that eventually. And for some reason, specifically jumping lunges, I've been doing them for a year now. And it's just working, so I'm sticking with it. As for years, I could never find an exercise to train my legs that wouldn't cause problems in my lower back and all this other stuff. And so this has been working awesome. I feel super blessed to have found it. And I love the process of just working at it and improving. And my legs are not big now, but they've improved immensely in about 11 months, almost a year now, just doing jumping lunges and slowly progressing the weight. Using an explosive tempo allowed me to progress the weight and make significantly more gains within the last couple months. So that was a big change. Rather than trying to do them really controlled, just doing it more explosively. I found the same thing with arms. has just led to an extra level of strength gain and in turn muscle gain. I do some slow controlled sets too for the arms, but for the legs right now I've just been rocking explosive. So a couple minutes, let's do the left leg. 20 reps, let's go. Oh, that set was a grinder. Ooh, camera might die. Oh, it burns. Ow. Oh, shit. Other thing I'm watching out for is I'm trying not to bounce my knee too hard off the turf. A couple of reps there, I did that. It's not good. Always do your best to assess your form, assess what you're doing, and kind of have that mindset to always try to find things you could be doing better. That's how you keep improving. So we've got 2 more rounds to go here. The legs are feeling good and pumped. The last 2 sets are the most important. And so like I mentioned in the previous clip, I'm really trying to limit the force with which this knee hits the ground. All right, so doing that is taking all the stress off of the front leg, which is the main working leg in this case. As always, I'm trying to keep my knee tracking my toe in line with my hip. I don't want that caving in. Chest is out, some tension in the upper back, a little core tension, and just push. Push to be explosive, but under control. Controlled aggression is a good cue. Before you go, I want to be aggressive, but I want to be controlled. Controlled aggression. Chest out, everything we got, let's go. Oh, bit of a sloppy set. Wobbling. Tough time getting into a nice little groove there, but still got her done. Fucking A. We got 1 more set. It'll be 6 sets. That's it. 6 sets, man. The legs are growing. I'm telling you. Past couple months, switched up to this explosive tempo. Found a really big difference in my strength. The weights have gone up. And the size of my legs has been growing. So that fast, explosive tempo, it's on that borderline of out of control though. So you still want to maintain control, but be as explosive as you can. It's kind of a fine line. No place we'd rather be. Fucking training legs at 9 at night after a long ass day. It's good, feels good. I might add more volume eventually and go up to eight sets, but right now I've been seeing progress with just the 6, so I'm gonna stick with that. But increasing volume is one way you can make your training harder if you're stuck in a plateau. Highly recommend that. And we got 16 reps. Every set I'm going for 16. Once I can get the 55s for like 17, then I'll probably increase the weight up to the 60s and let the reps drop back down to like 12, 13, 14. And then work with that weight until I can progressively add a rep each set or each session, ideally, until I can get back up to 16, 17 reps and then increase the weight again and just keep that going. That's a kind of simple progressive overload structure I've found to work. Again, the key little ingredient that I sprinkled into the gains cake was to do a fast, explosive tempo. I don't know, I stumbled upon it. It's the thing, sometimes you just keep showing up, you just keep pushing. You start to stumble onto like little different adjustments and techniques that are gonna work better. But you got to be paying attention to how your body's responding, assessing how you're doing. It just takes a lot. It's just like a lot more effort than most people want to give, physically and mentally. Think about it, assess, be hard on yourself, always looking for areas to improve. It's not for everyone. But I love it. So let's go. Last set. 16 reps. Just stretch my back leg. It's kind of burning. Okay, let's go. Let's go get it. Finish strong. Come on, Matt. 16 reps. Let's go, bitch. Body shop. I didn't really have 16, but we forced it. Ow. Fuck, my quads hurt. Oh. That was one of the most intense sets I've done in a long time. And those fucking quads, man. Usually they burn, but they're still burning. It's like I expect the burn, and it kind of like came, and then it ramped up to like a fucking 110. That was intense. Have you noticed when on the second rep of that set, I really bounced my right knee off the ground. And so I really focused to control that for the rest of the sets. Because again, I want my legs to do the work. I don't want to be bouncing off the turf, making the set too easy. That's a wrap, that's a workout. We'll get a couple shots of the legs, show you what the wheels are looking like. Those down low spindlers. And we'll get the fuck out of here. Okay, it's a pretty good shot. Oh, by the way, I've just bought a wireless mic today. It's supposed to arrive in a few days, so I won't have to worry about this wired mic anymore. But, oh, they're pumped up, man. They're like fucking rocks. Nothing impressive, but they're growing. Like I said, I've only been training them hard for about a year, and just straight jumping lunges, progressing the weight. It's a testament of how, I mean, it'd be better to do a few different exercises, but it just shows you that the exercise selection is not that important. It's more the structure of your workout, and do you progress the stimulus or the intensity. Just checking out the pipes. Looking not bad. I can't even remember what I was gonna say, man. All the blood's in my legs. That's the way the wheels are looking. Oh yeah, about a year ago they were 22.5 inches circumference around the upper leg. Now they're pretty much 24.5, like just under. So I've put, 2 inches on them in a year, which I'm pretty happy with. For the first time in my life, I don't feel like my legs are embarrassingly small. So whatever your limitation is, there's probably a way that you could work around it. If nothing else, I want to make these videos to inspire you if you're injured and you're hurt. I was in that place for years. I'm still dealing with it, but I'm finding ways to get out here and train. It's unorthodox. It's not ideal. It's extremely modified. Requires a lot of stretching, mobility, and fucking consistency and everything, but I'm doing it. So there's no reason that you can't too. As it feels great to be able to invest in making your body stronger and more muscular. And sucks to be injured and not be able to do anything. So it's not perfect for me. I still have limitations, but it's my favorite thing in the world to do, to be able to go to the gym and push myself to the limit and see my body respond by getting more muscular and stronger. And the amount of challenge and mental strength, the physical strength and consistency it takes, I just love the pursuit. And so I know there's others of you out there that feel the same way, and I hope that I can be an inspiration or potentially education and help you learn about your body or inspire you to keep pushing to find what you can do. And if you just invest in what you can do on a daily basis and then have that mindset where you're hard on yourself and you keep trying to find ways to improve, you never know where you could get. If I think 3 years back, I would have never thought that I could have legs like this. And again, they're nothing that impressive, but the progress I've made, and even the arms, 17 3/4, almost at 18 inches now, only doing 2 movements, having to do all the mobility ahead of time, whatever, right? It's a process, and I've committed myself to it, and it's turned into this whole thing that it's really starting to pick up momentum and steam, and now I want to share it with people in a more detailed way so you can see what I'm doing, and hopefully it inspires you to do the same. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next workout. This is day 1, the road to 18-inch arms. We're training the legs as well. And yeah, we'll see you in the next training session. It's probably going to be a couple uploads a week. I don't think I'll film every single workout. Sometimes I like just putting the headphones in and blasting, but I think at least once a week I'll film one of my workouts. Check in with you guys, chat, share my thoughts, share what I'm doing, and hopefully give you some inspiration, and maybe you'll learn a thing or two. So have a great fucking day. Get after your workout. Let's go.